Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together because Mr. Jetley has said there is no GST on applause. No GST, please. Here we go. We're starting off with our next session, which is absolutely fantastic. You will find out more from the AV.
Presenting Jason Butler. Jason is a British financial services entrepreneur and thought leader. He joined the financial services sector in 1990 when he was just 20 and is a qualified chartered fellow of both the Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment and the Personal Finance Society. In 2012, Citywire Media named Jason as one of the top 100 financial advisors in the UK. Jason has written several personal finance and self-improvement books, including The Financial Times Guide to Wealth Management, Squeezing the Orange, Simple Ways to Live a Full Life, and Money Moments, Simple Steps to Financial Well-Being. His next co-authored book, Essential Personal Finance, a practical guide for employees, is due out in January 2019. Jason is an angel investor in several UK-based fintech startups and is head of financial education at Salary Finance, the fast-growing provider of financial well-being solutions delivered through the workplace in both the UK and US. Jason is a personal finance columnist for the Financial Times, where he writes mainly about the emotional and behavioral aspects of money. As a professional speaker, Jason has a reputation for giving highly engaging and thought-provoking presentations on personal financial well-being and the role of money and happiness.
Put your hands together for Jason Butler. He's here with us. I met Jason in the lobby and over lunch, and I told him, I said, you cost me 600 rupees this morning. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, after reading about you, I went on Kindle and bought your book, and I'm already a quarter of the way through. An absolutely really, really nice book called Squeezing the Orange, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's it. Amazing. I said, before Jason starts off, we were doing this truth and lie thing with everyone. Tell us something about you that nobody knows so far.
My first business was when I was 16, selling teddy bears at the side of the road. And I got arrested for it, for causing obstruction. I got taken to the police station. I was only 16, as you know, underage, as it were. And I gave them this big speech about how they were holding back capitalism and entrepreneurialism and how they were stopping me with my future. And they wouldn't, I just wouldn't give in because I was right. I'd done nothing wrong. And they brought the top guy, the head honcho from the whole police station down, and I did my big speech to him. And he said, do you know what? This guy is very intriguing. He said, he's either going to be a complete failure, and we're going to see him again, or he's going to be someone. And I'll let you be the judge of that after my presentation.
Please, put your hands together for Jason. Here he is.
A number of you came from the Goa airport today, did you? Or yesterday? Yeah, it's a bit of a mad scramble, isn't it, when you come out there to get a taxi. Well, I managed to book a taxi, and I got in the taxi, and I started to sort of try and converse with the taxi driver, and his English was terrible. But it was far better than my Indian. And we were sort of going along for 5 or 10 minutes, and then he said to me, the first piece of intelligible conversation, he said, what about Brexit? Now, unless any of you aren't familiar with Brexit, it's that small thing of our country, the UK, leaving the European Union. And I said, I'm sick of talking about Brexit. We're all sick of it. It's all the politicians ever talk about. And then we carried on in silence for the rest of the journey. But here's the thing. Money's a bit like Brexit in the sense that it's always around us, but we don't always want to talk about it, do we? Or if we do talk about it, we don't talk about it in a real, true, authentic way. So I just want to share some thoughts with you about how you might think differently so that the success that you've already achieved and that you will achieve adds to your life and not takes it away. Let's try and make sure that technology works. Right, let's start with a question, okay? Now, please, I don't need answers right at the moment. This is for you to ponder over the next couple of days. But what's important about money to you? Now, that's a simple question, right? But it's not so easy to answer. because money means different things to different people, and we often have a complex and difficult relationship with it. Now, I've asked that question several hundred times in 25 years, and it means different things to different people. But over the next short time I've got with you, I'm just going to share with you some insights on 3 key areas relating to money stories, money emotions, and money values. And it's not for me to tell you what good looks like. I'm just merely trying to be thought-provoking to help you perhaps dig a bit deeper about that role of money. So here's a question. Does money make you happy? Not so sure? Does anyone agree that money doesn't make you happy? Does everyone here believe that money does make you happy? Yeah? Just make sure everyone's awake. Well, if you don't have enough money, it's miserable. Life can be miserable. I was in Mumbai for a couple of days before today, and I had a tour of the slums. And someone said to me, "Did you take a big beefy guy with you?" I said, "He was quite a big guy." But seriously, when you've got very little, life is misery. All right? Now, the latest research is from the United States, but it's not on the US. They've used the Gallup World Poll, which is a massive study done all around the world, including a large sample from India, on what makes people happy and people's levels of contentment with life. And they've overlaid this with economic data to work out what levels of money make people happy. So this is the latest research. You may have heard some of this from Daniel Kahneman and people like that. And what they've found is that once you've met your basic need for food, shelter, and so on, basically it's a progression of happiness based on how much you earn. Now, they've used income here as opposed to pure wealth, just as a proxy. And what they found was that emotional well-being, this is how you feel on a day-to-day basis, sort of plateaus at somewhere between 60 to 70,000 US dollars. So they converted it all to give us it's not all based on the US, as I said, it's based on world data. And what they found is that after about 60 to 75,000, people's personal emotions don't change much. They sort of plateau. There are studies that says there's no amount of plateau and that you can keep earning and keep getting more happiness. It just depends, I suppose, on what's important. But life evaluation, and this means how you compare yourself to other people, so not internal but external validation, that plateaus at a much higher level, about $95,000. Now, there's a little takeaway. When you compare yourself to other people, it's no longer about you're not in control, because you are now letting other people determine what good looks like. And sadly, the more wealth and success you get, you can often get drawn into a kind of an arms race, if you will, for how successful you are. And one thing you'll realise is that success isn't just about how much money you earn. It's the life that it enables you to have and for you to be doing as an individual. So, what we do know is that what you spend your money on does make a difference. So regardless of how much you earn, assuming you've got enough for your basic needs, spending money to save time on things that you don't want to do, that's worth spending money on. Buying experiences. I bet if I asked you to tell me your favourite holiday, I bet you would wax lyrical and you could describe every thought and idea and every emotion that went with it. Yeah? Could you? If I picked someone out and said, just describe for me in 1 minute your best holiday, you could do that, couldn't you? And you'd relive it. And the importance, rather than buying possessions and buying experiences, is because what that does is it enables you to relive the emotions. And also, compared to buying stuff, is that when you tell people about your holiday, although it's still a form of bragging, but when you tell someone about a holiday, it's not like saying, look at my Rolex, is it? It's a bit different. When you say, I had a wonderful experience, someone here said to me he likes wine. So clearly, if he goes on holidays that are to do with wine, he's going to get emotional about that. And spending money on others, other people, other causes, things that aren't just about you. Some years ago, a friend of mine who had fallen on hard times, we had to lie, tell a white lie, and it is okay to lie sometimes. And in this situation, I couldn't say, let us buy you dinner and take you out to a nice restaurant, because they'd had really bad few years. But what I did say to him was, well, we've won a competition. We've won a competition to take 4 people to this lovely restaurant. And I said, it's amazing. How did you win? So there are ways of actually helping people that make you happy. Now let's tell you about Anil. Now Anil is a friend of mine. He is British Asian. He was born in the UK. His parents are from India. And his dad was quite successful and very hard-working guy who started with not a lot and built a very successful business. And when Anil was 10, his mother died. So his dad was a bit austere, a bit of a hard taskmaster. I know this won't be to anyone in the room, won't relate to this at all, but mum was very, very loving. And when he lost his mum, his dad decided to send him to a boarding school because he thought that would give him stability. And when he went to the boarding school, the British boarding school, it was mainly white British people, and he was the only Asian. He was the only Indian. So you can imagine there was latent racism because he was different, just like someone with big hair or someone who was different shape. But it wasn't terrible, and he had a terrible situation. So in his early life, he didn't have a lot of security and he didn't have a lot of love. And what that manifested itself in was that it made him feel a little bit insecure about himself. He had no reason to be because he was very intelligent, he was hardworking, he was well liked, he was funny, but he didn't have his needs met. And what that did is that manifested itself in making him seem quite materialistic. And the studies show that if your needs as a child are not met for security and safety and love, then you will tend to gravitate towards a more materialistic lifestyle. They are the studies. Professor Tim Caser is the world authority on this, and if you want to find out more about it, he's a top guy. But if you don't have that need, that will lead to more materialism. And that's what happened with Anil. He started becoming obsessed about cars and houses and holidays and wine collections, none of which really made him happy. And he was working harder and harder and harder. And we got to about the age of 38, and he was basically in a bit of a train wreck, and he fell into depression. And he luckily came through that, and he's now rebuilt his life. He's still very successful financially, but he's got a lot more content with just being him. So I'm not saying don't have nice things. I'm not saying don't go out and work hard and earn money, but make sure you're clear what you're aiming for. And this really brings us on to the key point here of beliefs. Now, your beliefs about money are all coming from your childhood experiences, predominantly. To a lesser extent as a teenager and as a young person and your peers. But your money values come from your family upbringing. So in my case, we didn't have any money at all, so I always learned scarcity. And it's these money ideas, these money concepts that get ingrained in your head. So you either think money is abundant, or you think money is scarce. You either think money is a force for good, or you think money is the root of all evil. You either are proud of the fact that perhaps your family's done well, or you're embarrassed by it. A friend of mine, he went to the local state school in the UK, but his dad brought him in the Rolls Royce. He said, "Dad, it's embarrassing. You know, the other people haven't got that sort of cars." So here's the thing, is your money story and all the things you tell yourself about money are emanating from those early money childhood stories. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what's your money story? Is it helping you? Is it hindering you? Is it something that you hadn't really thought of, but actually it's the undercurrent of everything? You know, you're perfect as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Now, I've got a question for you. Imagine money was a person. Can you do that? All right. I want you to imagine money's a person and you've invited it over for dinner. You've invited them over for dinner. What sort of person would they be? Now, in my case, money is a party animal. Dancing, life and soul of the party, drinks like a lunatic, but you can't get rid of them, and in the morning there's a mess. You will have your own thoughts about that. My wife, if money was a person for her, she said it would be a city gent, pinstripe suit, cold, canny, not a very nice person. Because that's coming from how she views money. So she avoids money, and I like fun. I like spending money for fun. So they're good things. They're good and bad, aren't they? So if she doesn't like the idea of money, she won't want to make decisions with her. As it is, I have to work hard with my wife to make sure that she actually will use the banking app. From my point of view, I have to be careful I don't spend too much money on fun. But you can spend money on fun. It's okay. So let's talk about Doug. Now, Doug is he's a friend of mine at my gym. I know what you're thinking. When did I last go? I know. You don't stay this gorgeous without hard work. But seriously, he's a friend of mine in gym, and he is very, very together. Do you know what I mean? He's that kind of guy. Like, you know, when you go anywhere and you say, God, you know, you compare yourself to someone else, and he's 5 years older than me. I'm coming up to 50. He's 55, and he looks amazing. Well, I think he does anyway. Anyway, so the thing with Doug is About 2 years ago, I saw him and he was really down. I said, Doug, what's the problem? And he said, well, my wife's left me. Now, I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, right? Never met her. So he said, yeah, my wife's left me after 22 years of marriage. I said, we get less for murder, right? So the thing is, he said, I don't know where this is going to go. And he said, I just don't know what I'm going to do without her. And I said, being an optimist, don't worry, you're going to come through this, everything's going to be fine. About a year, several months later, I saw him and I said, how's it all going? He said, right, we've done the settlement. After 22 years of marriage, I'm left with £80,000. So what, about 900,000 rupees, is that right? Something like that. For 22 years. He said, I can't buy a house because I'm too old to get a mortgage and I haven't got enough deposit. I can't buy a house because I haven't got enough cash. So I've got nothing. Anyway, a few weeks went by and I saw him and he was beaming. He was smiling. I said, have you got back together with your wife? He said, no. He said, I bought myself a new motor. Which is the rational thing that anyone would do, right? I know some of the people in the room who like cars. You can never have too many coats, hats and shoes, and you can never have too many cars and toys. I'm joking. He bought this car, and I said, tell me about the car. He said, you won't believe it. He said, it's this Audi sports car that retailed with all the extras possible on it for £120,000. He said, and they had it for sale for £68,000 because it's 3 months old and being used by the manager. Now, there's another little thing here. Whatever price they say it was before has got no bearing on what you pay for something now. Another little takeaway. We'll touch on that in a minute. He said, so I offered them 63 grand. I said, well, why did you offer them that? He said, well, that's all I've got left. Another little clue for you. He said, I offered them 63,000. They took it. I said, I reckon they did. £63,000 driving around the car. What he failed to realise was that actually a service on this car is nearly £1,000. The tyres are £850 each. What he's bought is a liability on wheels. But here's the problem, is what Doug got sucked into was making a purchase of something on the basis of his emotional state. What was Doug? He was sad, wasn't he? He felt rejected. His self-esteem was low. He thought that he was worthless and that somehow he needed a possession, a purchase, or something to say that he was lovely. But he was lovely anyway. And here's the thing. Emotions are a dangerous thing when it comes to money, right? Do we all make rational decisions about money all of the time? Who said yes? I'm going to call you out. You're obviously not human. You must be a Dalek. All of our decisions are made at an emotional level. And we use logic to justify it, right? First thing my wife says to me, and bear in mind, everything we have is ours together. We don't have any secrets. I said, is that a new coat? No, I've had it in the cupboard for ages. And she's true. When she bought it, she snuck it into the cupboard so she could bring it out several months later and say something was already in the cupboard. God knows why. But the point is that we're driven, all of our decisions on money are based at an emotional level, and we aren't wired to make good decisions. So don't beat yourself up when you make suboptimal decisions. Because I've got some news for you. There is 2 types of people living in your head. Now, I know for some of you that won't be news. But for others of you, this is starting to come together now. So, on this side we have the planner. The planner is rational, thinks long-term, is looking for your best interests. And on this side, we've got the doer. The doer is myopic, obsessive, wants immediate pleasure, wants it now. And you know what the doer is? The doer is that little voice that says, buy it now because you're worth it. Have you ever had that voice? Here's another thing. As you earn more and as you get more wealth, you will spend more. Parkinson's law says, like a goldfish will grow bigger as the bowl gets bigger. That's actually a lie. It doesn't actually happen, but I thought I'd say it. But the bottom line is, you are easy to fill your spending up according to what you believe you're worth and what you think you can afford. The key, though, to getting ahead is living in a more modest way. The more modest way you can live, then as you earn money, you can build wealth. And that gives you choices. So don't say don't have fun. I'm just saying Parkinson's law. FOMO. Who here is on social media? Everyone? You're in the real world? Fine. Okay. You know when you look on social media and there's message, someone's going to great holidays, okay? Someone's got more friends. Someone's just bought a new thing. Someone's going out with someone really hot. Someone's doing better at business. Whatever it is, social media amplifies the fact that everyone else is having a great life apart from you, right? And it makes you feel inadequate, doesn't it? Come on, let's be honest. I've done very well in life, right? I'm very blessed that I've had the results and the luck I have, and it's amazing, really. I mean, it is. I have had a lot of luck. I shouldn't have had the luck I've had. But the point is that there will always be someone who's got more than you, who's had more success than you, who's thinner than you, who's, believe it or not, better looking. I know it's hard to imagine, right? But the point is that if you live your life comparing yourself to others, and we all do it, it's a primeval thing. Remember the emotions? You can never truly be happy, and you can never win that race, can you? There's nothing wrong with having a healthy look over there, as it were. But to live your life in someone else's values, you don't know what their values are, do you? Make sense? So, and we see this particularly with people who have come from more modest backgrounds, that they tend to have more conspicuous consumption because they believe that's what they need. Remember what I said to you? If you haven't had your early needs met emotionally, you're more likely to live a materialistic lifestyle. So, social media, it's all lies, all of it. It's all lies. Just disregard it and just have a laugh. Next time you feel yourself feeling, oh, you know, there I go. There I go, comparing myself. If you do want to compare yourself to someone, get yourself a role model. Find someone who's either a train wreck with money, who you don't want to be like, or who you think is a good role model, who's good with money and uses it as a force for good, and be more like them. So, you know, you can turn this to your advantage. Is there such thing as a sale? What day is it today? Friday, right? Do you have Black Friday? Yeah? And what is that designed to do? Get you to buy shit you don't want, right? That you didn't even know you needed. What did they say? Is there such thing as 50% off? When I said to my wife, she came home and she said, look, I bought this jacket. £200 reduced from £300. I said, great. It doesn't mean you've saved £100. It means you spent £200. She said, it does. Oh, you can never win with women. Sorry, I didn't mean to be sexist, but certainly women are always right, as far as I'm concerned, especially if they're married to them. But the point is that they're using anchoring. So what they're doing with marketing is to say, you need this, you need to buy this, and you need to buy it now. And the price that they charged you before is irrelevant. The price that they said it was at before is irrelevant. All you have to say is, do I want to purchase this good or service now for this money? And here's a really insightful thing to ask yourself. What can I not now do as a result of spending this money? So it doesn't matter if it's personal expenditure or business expenditure. Every pound, dollar, rupee you spend, it's an opportunity cost for you not to be able to do something else. And I started asking myself that question, not on everything, you know, buying a coffee. What can I not now do after this cappuccino? But, you know, be more insightful, be more intentional. Yeah? What can I not now do as a result of these buggers getting me to spend money? And isn't it funny, I'm speaking on Black Friday. I wrote an article. If you want to look at my back catalogue, as it were, it's not quite the same as the Rolling Stones, but I've got quite a lot of articles online on the FT. And this article here got quite a lot of traction, got a lot of interaction with people. Because, I don't know about you, but have you got a cupboard at home which is full of stuff? And you don't really want, or drawers, you know? And you open it and go, oh, whoops, close it again. I'll get to that one day. Or a room in your home that you think, yeah, I must get through all that stuff. So before you buy anything new, operate a one-in, one-out policy, or more better in a two-out, one-in policy. Every time you buy something new, get rid of two things. Before you know it, you'll have a lot less rubbish. And in fact, I said to my wife, I need to buy a pair of trousers. She goes, what do you want? I said, a pair of blue trousers. She went away, 10 minutes later, came back and said, oh, what, like this? I said, how did you get to the shop so quickly? She said, I didn't. It was already in the cupboard. But I had so much gear in there, I couldn't see it. So, possessions. And just one other thing. Every rupee has the same value. But you won't always give yourself that same value because it depends what you're spending. If you're buying a house for hundreds of thousands of rupee versus buying, you know, I don't know, a pair of trousers or a pair of shoes, you won't see the same value. If you could drive down the road and get, I don't know, £30 off, 300 rupees off your petrol, you'd probably go to the cheaper petrol station. But you wouldn't haggle, or you wouldn't haggle over your legal fees that you're being charged for buying a property worth, many, many multiples of that. So every pound has the same value. Anyone know what this game is? This game on here? Did someone say? Minecraft. Minecraft is one of the biggest selling games ever of all time. And this guy is Marcus Persson, and he's a Swedish games maker. And he sold his business to Microsoft in 2014 for $2.5 billion, like you do. He took personally $1.5 billion of those dollars, and the rest went to his team. So what do you think he did after he sold his business? He did what any rational person would do. He decided to go off to a party island called Ibiza. Anyone ever heard of that? Ibiza, it's one of the clubbing capitals of the world. And he tweeted, he said, hanging out with famous people, can do anything I want, partying every day. I'm liking this guy, right? What's not to like? He said, but I've never been so unhappy and lonely in my whole life. This guy, his girlfriend left him. Can you believe it? Because he became so morose. And my daughter said, Dad, I think his girlfriend was hasty. He's not that bad, is he? I don't think he wears the hat anymore. But here's the thing. He then tweeted this: the problem with getting everything is you run out of reasons to keep trying, and human interaction becomes impossible due to imbalance. So how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself motivated when you don't have an economic imperative to do so? Why was it he got so unhappy? Well, the single biggest reason was that this guy lived to get up in the morning, work with cool people, and build these games. That's what he did. If he spent £5 a day, that was a lot. He'd lost his purpose, hadn't he? He'd lost his mojo. He'd lost the true friends, the people, the geeks that he liked hanging out with. Not all these hangers-oners and these pop stars. Mind you, I'd have given it a go for a week, wouldn't you? I mean, just see if you didn't like it. But the point is, and this is really important, this final thing when we talk about money values, it's what is important to you? And where does money fit into that? Now, Marcus did get his mojo back, and he's now back in the game. And before any of the ladies are interested, he's got a long-term girlfriend now. It's not the same lady. He's shaved off the beard, he doesn't wear the hat, and he's doing very well. So there is a lovely story. Look him up. He's an interesting guy. I mean, he's a bit controversial, so I wouldn't, believe everything he says, but an interesting guy. But the Stoics, if anyone's ever heard of the Stoics, they were ancient Greek philosophers. And their biggest exponent was Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. And he was a real big exponent of Stoic principles. And the Stoicism says that there are only two things that you can control in this life. They're your judgments and your actions. Everything else is as it will be. So I said to you I've had a lot of luck. Honestly, I've had more luck than ability. And sometimes we look at other people who've become financially successful or got gorgeous bodies or whatever. There is some luck. Someone may have, I know some guy who just happened to be working for a company. They gave him share options and he walked out with £6 million. The guy couldn't run a bath. But he was lucky. And that stuff happens. You could work hard all your life and you could spend all your family's money till it's gone. So there is luck in life. You have to accept that. But the two things you can control are your judgments, how you think about things, and your actions. So when we think about money, we can use that as an empowerment tool. Judgments means our money beliefs and our emotions, right? Actions is our spending, our earning, our investing, and our borrowing decisions. We can control those. I said to you, controlling your spending, be intentional. So once you know what you can control, because you can't control stock markets, investments, tax rates. I know some people in this country think they can, and some do in our country. But you can't control those things, but you can control how you react to things and the decisions you make. Now, Indra Nooyi. Anyone heard of her? Yeah? So, Indian-born business lady. And she was the CEO of PepsiCo for several years, actually. She's now the chairman. Very, very smart lady. Very smart. And this is what she had to say about success and money. Success isn't money, prestige, or power, because net worth can never define self-worth. True success is being happy with yourself, is being fulfilled, and that comes from devoting your time, your life, and to doing what you love the most. And I think that sums it up. So, you know, your net worth, your family's net worth, doesn't define your value as a person, doesn't define where you fit in the world. What it does define is it gives you opportunities. It gives you amazing opportunities to be the best version of you. And here's the thing, it's not about having what you want in life. It's wanting what you have. And being rich is a state of mind, as more than anything. I feel I'm the most blessed guy in the world. I get to come and meet great people like you for my job now. And I learn from people all the time. And I'm sure many of you have got things you can share with me, your insights. But Francis Bacon was an English writer, and in the 16th century, he wrote that money makes a great servant, but a poor master. If you get money in perspective and work out what's really important to you, and the role of money in that, and what's going to make you most happy, and be the very best version of you, then you will be the master of your money, and it won't be mastering you. And that way, ladies and gentlemen, you can actually get a fantastic return on your life, not just on your wealth. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you for listening very intently. I'm going to be around for the evening and that, so if anyone wants to buttonhole me, I think we've got some time for a few questions now, if anyone wants to pose them to me, but I am hanging around. Very happy to talk to people. I don't know all the answers, but I've certainly met a lot of people who've given me lots of insight. So thank you very much for listening.